Hi, Estefa. Very, very happy to see you on the podcast, Revenue Strategy Podcast. So today we're going to talk about outbounding, generating leads, but not just that. It's much more complex than this. So Estefa, maybe introduce yourself. Who are you? Why are we talking with each other?
Thanks, Cedric. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So I run Naked Sales Agency. We're a sales agency, like I said. We do lead generation for our clients, and we also coach them in order to close their B2B sales. We don't understand lead generation without the sales part, so we kind of covered full cycle. And we're here talking about outreach, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is why we talk. So because there's a lot of things, and before the recording started, we were actually talking about there are two streams. The ones that want to go scale up in their outbounding activities. And then there's a second stream, we would like to go a bit deeper into this. So when you look at the people that will scale, and they would like to start using AI, they automate the messages. We were just talking even about automatic responses on LinkedIn and so forth. So what is your view on this, and how do you think this will evolve or devolve in the short term?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, when you start an outreach sequence, right, and it's because you have a service, right, a value prop, and you have a buyer in mind that you want to target, right? Mm-hmm. So if you try to, from the first moment, scale it up, it's kind of like, for me, it's nonsense, because you really haven't found a fit between your offering and this buyer, and between your messaging and this buyer. So instead of trying to scale from the beginning, I always say, you have two levers for your business. One is traffic and the other one is conversion. When you scale, you're looking for traffic. However, I recommend to first go for conversion, try to make your sequence and your outreach profitable, make it, get a good ratio, get actual sales calls from your outreach, and then once you kind of got to the sweet spot, then you can try and scale, but always with respect in mind, right? We're here not to spam people, not to bother anybody. This is not. Some people say outreach is a numbers game. I don't think so. I don't think outreach is a numbers game. I think outreach is a personal game, and it's all about who you want to attract. And I think probably people try and scale because they're looking for a massive market or something. And I think it's important to ask ourselves why. Why do we want to get these these many clients when maybe we can work with fewer clients that are, larger, for example, and raise our price. So
Before we go maybe deeper into this, because you covered already quite some topics, because one of the you said a bunch of things I want to go deeper into. Like, for example, it is true when you want to start scaling and when you start to automate, when you have mistakes in the systems, they will only be amplified. If your messaging is not spot on, or your messaging is maybe spot on for a segment of the market, but if you expand into it, you will start missing everything. Your conversion rates will start dropping, and so forth. So I 100% follow you on this. On the other hand, when you said it's your approach to the outreach, and I made notes. So you want to attract the people. So can you go deeper into this attracting? Because in what I think you mean with this is a lot of the outbound is pushing, while attracting is actually a pull motion. So how do you go about this?
Yeah, it's mainly because I realized that when we have this focus on scaling, it's kind of like we want to just pretty much go to anybody. We're not being selective. And for me, the question is why? Why are we not being selective? And many times we are not being selective because we don't think we can. We don't see ourselves working with maybe large corporations or medium-sized companies. And that's why we're going to the other end. We are trying to scale and just talk to a lot of very small companies to see how many I can get. Yeah. But is this really your dream buyer or not? Because sometimes this starts with your mentality, and I think you need to be really clear. Okay, who's your platonic client? Who you would like to work with? Maybe not now, but in a year, and have that person in mind, and start behaving, start your outreach, adjusting your outreach, adjusting also like your content on LinkedIn, and you'll start attracting this type of buyer because you'll adjust your messaging too. So it's kind of this pull motion that you were talking about too.
Yeah. And if you say, okay, but I or some people might say, okay, but I can sell to everybody. I can offer my service to anybody. For example, a number I have in mind is there are more than 1 million tech companies, SMB tech companies. So I actually have a market of 1 million tech companies. So why should I not then outbound to everybody with one message that could apply to everybody? Because if I don't scale my outbounding, then maybe I will lose market. So how do you react to this?
Yeah, so I think this way of looking at the business is kind of like biased, maybe. I don't know how to explain it, but
wrong.
Like when you like the fact that you have a market, and I'm quote unquote market of 1 million in this example, right? Like companies. This doesn't mean that that full million will be interested in your services, and I think people miss the variable of the timing. So it's not only about them meeting your criteria and being qualified leads for you, but also about being the right time to reach out. And you only know if it's the right time if you observe these leads and you start doing your outreach based on triggers, based on buying intent. Otherwise, you're just hitting everybody regardless of their current situation, and the current situation matters because you don't need the same thing now than in 2 months. So for me, that's how I see it.
Yeah, sounds good. And then we spoke about the dream buyer, and I would like to use this occasion in talking about the second stream, right? So we covered the scaling stream briefly. Let's go much deeper now into the second approach that you see happening, and can you go a bit deeper into this?
Yeah, so basically the other approach is not having or not looking to scale, but looking to just generate the quality leads, being very selective. And this is very linked to what I was just saying about observing the market and buying intent. So when you ask yourself, okay, who do I sell to? Okay, maybe I sell to tech companies. Okay, but the next question for me is what's the indicator that tells you that these tech companies actually have the problem that you solve right now? Like, what is the indicator? So we need to ask, in order to make this other type of outreach, that it's more selective and it's more qualitative, more personalized, we need to understand the behavior of the buyer and understand what are the symptoms that they have the problem that I solve. Maybe it is that they're hiring lately, this is a symptom, this is a behavior. Or maybe it is a post that they commented about X topic that you solve for. Or maybe it's a new raise or a new funding or something, right? But like you need to observe and kind of create a framework and an opinion on them, and then you reach out. So it's basically this how we orchestrate this outreach for clients in this way.
And if you look at so this is a manual process, although part of the intents and the behavior can be automated. So then, in your opinion, what part would you automate or get automatic information from or the triggers from? What part would you then keep on doing manually?
So the first phase, it's always manual. When I talk about the first phase is understanding your own value proposition and understanding what problem you solve. Right, so you do this exercise, kind of like a white paper, start from scratch, as if you hadn't seen your business at all. So you do this exercise. What problems do I solve? Okay, what are symptoms to these problems? And then you come up with a list. And now what you can automate is how you actually get the list of leads, right? So based on the triggers that you chose, on the intent, on the buying intent, you go to the source that you need to go, Google Maps, Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Jobs, and there you can automate, the extraction of those leads, right? And then, you have the leads, you saved some time, you write a sequence that can actually be relevant for this group, very specific group of leads that match your indicators. And then what we do is we review lead by lead, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
We review one by one, just to make sure that the message actually will apply to this lead, because maybe he meets all the criteria, but maybe he's not in the right time, even if he met the indicators, whatever. So, and here throughout this process, we of course leverage AI, but more in the terms of just getting additional ideas or running our sequence through AI to get some external point of view, things like this. But never like letting AI just write from scratch anything and send it to the lead, because this would be crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, clear. And then how do you go about a situation where companies or people are not yet even aware they have a problem, although we, with our technology or with our solution, we know we can help certain targets of certain parts of the market. How would you reach out to them then?
For me, there are like a few options here. So when your buyer is right now in a low level of consciousness, for me, option one is do a very soft outreach, maybe like only LinkedIn, where you just like invite them to connect. Say hi, say, hey, if you need any help with sales in the future, just let me know. Why? Because this person now it's in your network, and you're going to be hopefully posting about your expertise. So this person is passively kind of like in your radar and passively exposed to your information, and you're little by little going to kind of like scratch their mind with your content. So this is one way, right? When their level of consciousness is really low, like they don't really know they have a problem, they're not looking for a solution. Yeah. Another way it's doing just cold email, but then again, having a very soft approach and maybe sharing some resources that are more educative, quote unquote. I don't like cold email to be educative. For me, it has to be more like unsure, like, hey, I saw that, I don't know, you just hired this profile. I read the job description. I realized that you guys have this objective. Maybe you're looking to do this and do that. I'm not sure, but anyways, I'm going to share you this resource because maybe it's helpful. Like in this way. It's not that you come here to, let me tell you how to do things. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I would say one of these two options when their level of consciousness is low. Yeah.
And I also like that your approach is not just emailing or not just pushing. When you create that demand, you also fully embrace LinkedIn and content creation. So do you see a shift happening there? I mean, let me say like 1 to 3 years ago, content creation importance in demand creation versus today?
Yeah, of course, I think so. I think people are more and more aware about this. Like, for example, 1 year ago when we were working with clients, kind of like none of them were talking about this. And lately, like they have been asking like, and saying, maybe I should be posting on LinkedIn. Maybe I should be more active. And actually, I was reading yesterday on LinkedIn, and I posted about a quote that I heard from Grant Cardone, that he goes, the best known wins the best.
Yeah.
Right? So the best known, the one with more audience, the one that is more visible, will win the best. So you can be the best, but if you're invisible and nobody sees you, it's like, it's pointless. So we really need to be like out there exposing ourselves, especially if we know that we have a service that can help people. Like don't keep it to yourself. Go out there in a natural way, in a helpful way, and then, be there so that people know you. Otherwise, it's like you're invisible, really.
Yeah. And when you talk about outbounding, so and then combine it with creating content, so there are a couple of different flavors and opinions there on the market. So there, on the one hand, companies that say, listen, you can only post sanctioned content. To other people that say no, SDRs, they also, or salespeople, they're also partly more marketeers. They need to create their own content. Where, on what spectrum, what part of the spectrum are you, and can you go a bit deeper into this?
So you're talking about employee advocacy here, about posting, employees posting?
As part of the outbounding process.
Yeah, as part of the outbounding. So what I think here is, having a personal brand on LinkedIn, having an audience there, it's something that is always going to add up to your outbounding. But in my opinion, it should never be like forced for a team. Because there are some different types of personalities. We all know this. So if in your team you have these people, like a couple people that they don't like to be on the spotlight, they work in a different way, like for me there's no point on making these people create their personal brand, like forced personal brand, because they won't be authentic. And for me the root of any personal brand is authenticity, just being yourself and being happy and comfortable sharing. If you're not going to be comfortable, like don't start the personal brand, I would say.
Yeah, great. So let's now shift a little bit gears on the technical part of outbounding, because when you look at building up sequences, Google is changing their rules about about mail delivery. A lot of mails are entering spams. There are a lot of more cold emails entering than 6 months ago. What is, in your opinion, or in your expertise, a good way to make sure that your cold mail, first of all, arrives and then resonates? I mean, in the resonate, I'm talking about on certain follow-ups.
Yeah, so basically, from a technical point of view, just have all the right configurations in place, like DMARC, SPF, DKIM, all this stuff, like custom tracking domain. All your tech setup should be right spot on, because this can really cause you troubles. But then once you have that, of course, if you configure, but you start spamming people, you will have the same problem. So just for me, the answer is right setup and low volume of emails. These new regulations that came up, for me, it's whatever, I don't care, because we're not sending more than, to be honest, we're not sending more than 200 emails per month per client. Why? Because from out of 100 emails, we're getting between 5 and 10 sales calls.
Okay.
So, it's a 5-10% call book rate.
Yeah.
I don't need to spam 1,000 people to get that. With 100, 200, I get that. So I think this is the approach, to not bother people, just be more respectful there. And regulations won't matter, really.
Yeah, okay. And then if you look at the end, then, so because I don't want to go through the entire sequence, breakup email, how do you look at this?
Yeah, we use this type of email when so we normally, in our sequences, we have between 3 and 4 email touch points, not more than that. And then in between we have LinkedIn steps or cold calling or LinkedIn engagement, things like that. As for the breakup email, for us it's always it's not like a breakup. It's not see you never. It's more I'll see you in 3-4 months. Maybe I will follow up again, But I think it's necessary to put to put a finish, an end to the sequence at some point, because you cannot really follow up eternally. So best to do 3-4 touch points and that's it. If they didn't answer, just leave space and back up.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, breakup email sounds so sad. And maybe it's, as you said, we spoke in the beginning about the timing. Everything is in the timing or the awareness. But then it's more put them in a nurture and then see how we can reach them in another way, rather than calling it a breakup email. And we spoke about it's not the, and actually with Mika from Ample Market, we spoke about the same thing. We speak about quality over quantity. And then when we talk about quality, you start saying we have about 5 to 10 sales calls over 200 mails, which is very good. And then in the end, we want to talk about closing a deal, of course. And this is why segmentation is so important. Having the right target is so important. The intent, having that urgency building up. So when we look then at the sequence, once you have that first disco call, the discovery call, it does not stop there, because normally in business more than one person makes the decision, or you then parallel to this building an outbound sequence to other stakeholders in the organization, or how do you tackle this?
Yeah, so it depends on the size of the organization. Yes, when we have, for example, for one of our clients who was e-learning platform, and they were targeting like really large companies, like above, what was it, like 5,000 employees or something. So in this case, what we did is we first reached out to a stakeholder below the line, below the decision line, so specialist, middle manager. You start the conversation with this person, and then you kind of reach out to the person above the line, or maybe the first person will bring you to the second person, like it depends on the case. But for large companies, it normally is like this. An intro is very powerful, and we've seen. And then just like in general, I think if you're very like respectful and doing a personalized approach, it works. We've gotten calls with like Siemens, Abanca, I don't know, like really large Honda, Philips, with really large corporations, and it's not like I don't know, 100 times more difficult. No.
Yeah.
In our experience,
exactly.
It's not proportional to their size, really.
Yeah, that's true. And in my experience, the difference mid-market and corporate, in mid-market you often have people that really try to defend their territory. And while in corporate, people know they don't make decisions all by themselves. So you need to engage more stakeholders. So that's also my experience, yes. It might take a bit more time. The sales cycle is longer in general. Then you have the vendor sign-ups and so forth. So there are a bunch of things that have to be aligned. But in the end, it's a different way of doing business. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then if you look at the cold calling, so you have also different experiences and people. So people say, okay, first I call and then start my outbound sequence, or first I reach out to LinkedIn. What is your go-to approach?
Yeah, no, we normally do cold calling like in the middle of the sequence. So normally we start by with some LinkedIn step so that they see you, they see your face, they know who you are. Then we reach out via email. Main communication is always done for us via email. Why? Because we're selling professional services. So we want to reach the people, the person, when they are actually working. So when they are looking at their professional email, they will probably be working, right? So exactly. For us, this makes sense. And then in the middle of the sequence, when you've probably sent a couple emails, a couple LinkedIn touch points, at that point, it's a good point in time to do a cold call. Because they already know you. They already read you a couple of times. They will recognize who you are, especially if you've been observing, how much they've been opening your emails or clicking in your links. This gives you an idea. They're kind of interested, but they're not replying back.
Yeah.
So let me give them a call.
Yeah.
And okay. you normally rescue a few different, quite a few leads like this. Because some people just don't reply because they're just busy and they're like, I like this, but right now I'm like, I have these meetings and blah blah blah. We'll see. Maybe next queue. And then you give them a call.
Or they open and they forget. So it's that's the thing. It's nothing personal. They have their own life, their own work, so they're in their own cadence, and then that's your interrupt. So it is true. Definitely it happens all the time. So that's why it's good to then have these follow-up emails. And when you talk about the follow-up emails as well. So what about the nudge when you just send a follow-up mail like, okay, thoughts or interested? How do you look at this? Yeah,
we normally. What we do in the follow-up emails, like we don't do these thoughts thing, because we believe. So we have a very client-centric approach. So we put ourselves in the shoes of the reader, of the lead, right? So if I receive another email from you, what I would like for you to make my life easier.
So value or insights.
So in this follow-up email, at least give me some context. I know that you wrote to me in the past, but give me some context. Don't just ask me thoughts, because then you're going to make me have to go to the first email, figure out what you said. I have a million other things in my agenda. I don't know you, so I'll probably want and I won't reply. So follow-up emails for us, what we do is we reuse the personalization that we used in the first email. We reuse it. Ooh, what was that? So we reuse it, and then we give some context, like, hey, I reached out to you a couple of days ago because I saw this and that, and I figure out that this and that. Is this something interesting? Let me add some, let me add some document, or let me add this methodology so that you have a little bit more context on what we do, but always kind of like giving them this context. I think this is very important.
And it's one thing, because like that thoughts, it's pretty direct, and a lot of the, let me say, the gurus on LinkedIn, they are from the US, where there's still a bit a different form of communication. Do you see a difference there than American and then in European outbound sequences?
Yes, totally. I've actually, like, the framework that we use, this framework based on observation of a behavior, of a trigger, and then an insight. We've learned it from, US companies like Lavender, for example. I really like Will Alred's approach. And we apply, what we've done is kind of like adjust this to the Spanish market, to the European market, because it is true that the communication style in Europe is not that direct. It's not as direct as in the US. So sometimes, at least in Spain, for example, this style, if you go very, very, very to the point, people can feel that this is sounds like too harsh, or like maybe you can get some rejection. So we try and make it a little bit softer kind of thing. And maybe we end up with a slightly longer email than them, but it works. So I rather adjust it a little bit. I don't know about your experience, but this has been ours so far.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There are a couple of things there, and I've tried them all. And the last 12 months, I can say, even the nudge mail, but I don't even feel good when I do it. And then I think I'm going to listen to the gurus, and then with the results that you. So maybe what I can add there is really to be yourself. And you said it's right. Be genuine. Put yourself in the steps of not just the receiver, but also the person that sends it. And I think it's important on a branding point of view as well, on a consistency point of view as well. If you're indirect and, let me say, a soft brand, and then you like thoughts, that might be pretty confronting and does not give the right customer experience. And totally. I think this is important, right? So yeah, definitely. So, all right, cool. So we are almost at 30 minutes, and I promised we would be a bit to 20 to 30 minutes. So maybe very briefly, some pointers that people can really start, if they want to start outbounding. So we don't go for quantity, but for quality. When you build an outbound sequence, you say 3-4 touch points on email, and in between then a phone call. When would you do then LinkedIn outreaches? Yeah,
we also do LinkedIn steps in between the email steps. So normally we start with a LinkedIn invitation, LinkedIn invite, and then we proceed with the cold emails. And then between cold email and cold email, we slip there LinkedIn visit or LinkedIn engagement with their content. But yeah, for me, the most important, because, to your question, kind of like these tips to get started, for me, the most important part is to know who you want to work with. And not try to scale up front. Like, ask yourself, who do you want to work with? Who's your buyer? Okay, let's say, it's marketing agencies. Okay, let's go to Sales Navigator, find marketing agencies, start clicking through, and really pinpoint which ones do you really like, and start observing patterns. I realize that I like when they have this type of website, or when they offer this type of services, or when they are above 50 employees, or what. Like, get specific, because otherwise you won't know who you're talking to, and your outreach will feel super impersonal. So I think that would be my, like, if you have to start, just pick the right leads. I like it. And before the recording, we were talking about the automation, and we went a bit into it into the recording, but especially maybe in the time of when we zig the zag, and while everybody goes scaling and AI, hyper personalization, and make it hyper personal as well, coming from you is the way to go. So I really like it. Thank you so much, Estefa, for all your tips, and I wish you all the best, and we see each other soon. Thank you, Cedric. It was a pleasure. Thank you.